It's August 21, 2023. Good morning and welcome to the morning news here on TV3 with me, Godwin Asideba. Coming up this morning. In the bulletin this morning, it's finally home. Our very own TV3's Parkway Siasare is the first Ghanaian to win BBC's Komla Dumor Award. Also in the bulletin, Niger coup leader General Chiani promises to hand over power in 3 years despite ECOWAS's call to reinstate ousted leader. And later on the international front, Russia's first lunar mission is 47 years, smashes into moon failure. And later in sports, Godfred Akobila wins Ghana's strongest 2023 edition. We have details of these and some other stories coming your way shortly. This bulletin is live on DSTV, channel 279. We are also streaming across the world on Facebook at TV3 Ghana. Do join us with your thoughts and comments. Let's begin with something really interesting. TV3's Parkway Siasare is the first Ghanaian winner of the BBC Komla Dumor Award. BBC World News has announced. The British news outfit said in a statement that the News 360 presenter impressed its panel of judges with his quality of journalism, his ability to grasp complex subjects and explain them clearly, and commitment to telling stories that matter.
Siasare, anchor of TV3's flagship news program, News 360, the head of business and anchor of Business Focus, is the 2023 winner of the BBC Komla Dumor Awards. It is recognition for his consistency and a reward for hard work.
When I found out that I'd won this very prestigious award, I was absolutely thrilled and humbled at the same time. This is an award that's been running for 8 years now, and it's an award that was instituted to honor the memory of a Ghanaian legend, Komla Dumor. Sometimes the Lord favors you in the multitude of other people.
The Komla Dumor Award is a journalism award launched by the BBC in 2015 in honor of the legacy of Ghanaian journalist Komla Dumor, who worked for BBC World News and was the main presenter of its program Focus on Africa.
Komla Dumor stood for nuanced journalism about Africa. The Komla Dumor Award is important to the BBC. It's a testament to the BBC's commitment to support and elevate young journalists from Africa.
The award is presented each year to an outstanding individual living and working in Africa who combines strong journalism skills, on-air flair, and an exceptional talent in telling African stories. In previous years, recipients of this award have included journalists from across various African countries like Nigeria, Kenya, Zambia, and Uganda. The winner is given a 3-month training and development contract at the BBC headquarters in London. He as well gets to travel to any country in Africa to tell an African story that shall be broadcast on all platforms of the BBC. For Parkway, this opportunity is one that affords him the chance to continue telling the nuanced stories of Africa as a journalist.
I've always believed in going for the jugular, and so I've always wanted to do the big things. You've got to ensure that you always have a balanced story, and which is hearing both sides of the stories and putting both sides of the stories for the general public to make a determination on what they think.
He further expressed appreciation to all who have contributed to this feat.
I thank TV3 for all the support and for everybody who has played a pivotal role in getting me here today. So I think that journalists have the power to portray this side of Africa to the world, and that's why the BBC, through this award, is trying to empower journalists who can tell authentic, original, as well as nuanced African stories to the international community.
Komla Dumor stood for nuanced journalism about Africa. The Komla Dumor Award is important to the BBC. It's a testament
Congratulations to him. Now, the Group Chief Executive Officer of Media General, Beatrice Agyeman, says Park Kwesi Asare honor as the 2023 winner of the BBC News Komla Dumo Award as a testament of the excellent level of journalism at TV3. The News 360 and Business Focus presenter as the first Ghanaian to win the prestigious award instituted in honor of the late Ghanaian journalist and BBC presenter Komla Dumo. Ms. Agyeman said, in part of a Media General statement, that the recognition is a reflection of TV3's excellence in journalism, and we are motivated to continue our training programs to build our news team into world-class journalists to win more of such awards, she said. The award is further testament of TV3's reputation as the news leader in Ghana. Park Kwesi's co-anchor and News 360 presenter Portia Gabo is the reigning Ghana Journalists Association Journalist of the Year. Really exciting news there. Well, away from all of those stories, the leader of Niger Junta says they will return to the country's civilian rule within 3 years. General Chiane, in an address on State TV, gave no details on the plan, but said the principles for the transition would be decided within 30 days at a dialogue to be hosted by the junta.
The address came even as a delegation from the Economic Community of West African States was able to meet with the junta leader, General Abdurrahman Chiani, in the capital, Niamey. The ECOWAS delegation, headed by former Nigerian head of state, General Abdulsalami Abubakar, also met separately with ousted President Mohamed Bazoum. ECOWAS has been pursuing diplomatic ways to reverse the July 26 coup. The junta has previously refused to meet any ECOWAS delegation, and Saturday's meeting is seen as a sign that the junta is willing to negotiate. ECOWAS on Friday doubled down on its threat to use force as a last resort to restore democracy in Niger. The delegation was dispatched after ECOWAS defense chiefs met in Accra to discuss preparations for any eventual military intervention in Niger. After the meeting of the ECOWAS Chiefs of Defense Staff, the chairperson of Political Affairs, Peace and Security of the ECOWAS Commission, Ambassador Abdel Fattah Musa, disclosed that the military option was still on the table should diplomacy fail.
We are not going to war against Niger, right? That is very important to, it's a very big difference. We are not going to war against Niger. We are going to war against the CNSP junta. If they have their population at heart, they should take up our offer of the peaceful means to resolve this crisis. But when it comes to the implementation of the military option, if it happens, it is going to be surgical, it is going to be targeted.
But coup leader General Abdurrahman Chiani warned in his address that if an attack were to be undertaken against Niger, it will not be a walk in the park, as some people seem to think. Should force be resorted to, the troops will have to face thousands of civilians who have volunteered to fight any invading force. With the junta now proposing to return Niger to civilian rule within 3 years, it is now left with ECOWAS to decide whether to go along or use force to return the country to democracy. Meanwhile, the new U.S. ambassador to Niger, Kathleen Fitzgibbon, arrived in the capital, Niamey, on Saturday.
A research fellow, head of peace and security studies and head of PhD programs at Legon Center for International Affairs and Diplomacy, Dr. Ken Ahosu, has reminded ECOWAS of the consequences of a military intervention in Niger. According to him, whichever way the outcome of the war would go, it will never be a good news for the sub-region.
ECOWAS has given an ultimatum, and they have activated their forces and said what they are concerned about is the handing over of power back to the elected president. And the head of the president of Niger, Acha, or whatever he's called, has said they will be in power for 3 years and then hand over to a civilian government or transition to democracy. What I want us all to know is that the two sides are not wrong, but in conflict situations, When you know the view of each other, this is now the time to mediate. This is now the time to negotiate. So I don't want us to look at it from a zero-sum situation. The concern of many in West Africa and outside West Africa have been that coup d'etats are not something that we should entertain. In the same vein, Nigerians or the people of Niger, they have what we call the right of self-determination. And they are the people who are in charge of their country, people who know the situation in their country. And they have come out and said there will be a transition. Now, the concern of us all is that we don't want a war to resolve this issue because the Sahel region is in a form of turmoil, it's in a form of crisis. And the only forces which are holding these militants at bay are the military. If there should be a war between ECOWAS and the military junta, and the military in Niger is destroyed or defeated, it will open the floodgates for the militants to take over the country. And it will have repercussions very seriously for the whole of the West African sub-region. This is why mediation is the way forward. Diplomacy is the way forward. So what I believe is that despite this declaration by the military junta, we shouldn't jump and throw our hands in the air and say the only way out of taking them is what? A military means or war. We have had issues in Burkina Faso. We had had issues in Mali. And it had been judged that given the special circumstance of terrorism or religious militancy that is sweeping across the region, they should be given special dispensation at least to stable the ship before there is a transition to civilian government. So I think that we are on the right path.
For his part, a research lead and digital news editor at Nigeria's News Central TV, Abdul Latif Ahmed, wants ECOWAS to proceed consciously now that the junta officials have outlined their strategies for a return to civilian administration.
On its own bidding at its best, the most informed military sources, have said that the option for getting the military junta out of power is there in the open. And I think the fact that some military officials can just wake up and say they're taking over governance does not in any way suggest that there will be better security in the system. Don't forget, some days ago, the military was attacked and the country lost some soldiers. There's a chance that there will be an increase in the activities of insurgents because the country is now in the hands of few persons. There's also a chance that there may be mutiny or disagreement within the army, as we heard, because that was partly what was responsible for the quick return of the ECOWAS delegation. Again, the American ambassador is there. Probably somehow she may be able to deliberate with a few other diplomats in-house to suggest way out of all of this. I mean, the fact that we can still have the ECOWAS delegation go into that country means that there are chances that issues are resolvable. Again, looking at what the junta has said about 3 years of transition and allowing political parties to have input in the next 30 days just suggests that it's soft-pedaling it, from its initial hardline stance.
Away from Niger-related stories, operators of tricycle taxis known as Pragia and tricycle mini-trucks known as Aboboya in the capital Accra have expressed disappointment at the Greater Accra Regional Coordinating Council's decision to reinforce its ban on the operation of some Aboboyas on the street of Accra. They fear many young people have resorted to this line of work, and if they are restricted from operating in the Central Business District, many residents in those areas will lose employment opportunities due to the current economic challenges. I was there and I filed this report.
21-year-old Eric Jambo is a student of the Accra Technical University and a part-time tricycle operator. He's able to transport bags of sachet water easily to homes and shops of his customers with the aid of a tricycle mini truck known as Aboboya.
After completing SS, there was no job. I've tried several government work, but because of how the country is, no money, there's no job for you. I've gotten someone to employ me to work with his motorbike.
He fears the reinforcement of the ban on the use of tricycles in the Greater Accra region will cut off his only means of livelihood.
This is what I also do to support myself. If they are going to ban this, they need to create a job that will have income.
Efo Michael is Eric's customer.
We don't get money to take full car, and those full car too, they will not allow to pick even 200 or 100 from Medina to here. They will tell you they cannot. So Aboboya, we get them, so they will go there and take 100.
Many young people have resorted to this work in the face of the current economic and financial crunch. In Agbogbloshie, one of Ghana's biggest slums, I was met with a smoky atmosphere on a busy morning. Right at the entrance of the Agbogbloshie market are these tricycle operators. Mohammed Razak, 23 years, traveled to Accra from Tamale 3 years ago to work to make ends meet so he can return to school. He pleaded with the authorities to punish offenders rather than imposing a blanket ban on all operators.
We are going to beg him that for let us do our this thing, because some people, apart from this work, they don't know how they are going to do.
Most of the workers here deal in scraps, and the tricycle swamp the space here, waiting to be loaded with scraps to move.
If he buys something side, Aboboya, you go carry and come for a house. So you know if you take taxi, you know if you take the iron, know if you go taxi inside.
Aside the Aboboya, Pragia is also one of the tricycle business fast inundating the streets of Accra.
They have not only eased commuting but also created jobs for people of various age groups in the city. Despite the benefits, the Greater Accra Regional Coordinating Council has bemoaned the unregulated activities and operations of these tricycles within the Central Business District and some principal streets of Accra. This, the Greater Accra Regional Coordinating Council said, has resulted in heavy traffic congestion and chaotic scenes, indiscriminate parking and flouting of traffic regulations, among others. Hence, the need to regulate the movement of these tricycles in order to create a conducive environment for businesses to thrive while ensuring the comfort of travelers.
This will allow us to be doing small.
Deborah Opare is a regular passenger here. She's been patronizing the services of the tricycle taxi known as Pragia for 8 months.
I come to the market 5 times in a week and I feel comfortable patronizing the Pragia. I plead for it not to be banned.
The ban on the movement of these tricycles is in line with Regulation 128 Clause 14 of the Road Traffic Regulations 2012, which states that the licensing authority shall not register a motorcycle to carry a fare-paying passenger. The ban on Aboboya on Accra highways was first announced by the regional minister in November 2021 to curb the spate of gross indiscipline on major roads in the region.
Godwin Asidiba, TV3 News, Accra.
Let's do some health news. The consortium of researchers have used genetic modification to reduce mosquito population in a controlled setting. This gene editing tool aims to reduce at least 90% malaria mortality and eliminate malaria in 28 districts by 2028. My colleague Sarah Pencro delves into the multifaceted challenges of Ghana's fight against mosquito-borne diseases.
From the notorious Anopheles mosquitoes, which transmit malaria, to the Aedes mosquitoes, which carry diseases such as dengue fever and Zika virus, Ghana is home to a diverse range of these tiny yet formidable creatures, which has heightened concerns over public health. Malaria remains a top priority in Ghana's fight against mosquito-borne diseases, as climate, urbanization and socio-economic factors contribute to the ideal breeding conditions for mosquitoes. Despite progress made by the country in the provision of mosquito nets to vulnerable populations, the use of advanced diagnostic tools, the availability of malaria vaccine for children, and mosquito control initiatives, reducing the disease transmission rate remains a challenge.
Within the cage, we do have males and females.
Principal investigator for Target Malaria in Ghana and senior lecturer at the Department of Animal Biology and Conservation Science at the University of Ghana, Dr. Fred Abuaji Entry is among a consortium of researchers who are currently working to develop a new tool to improve management of the disease.
We here in the University of Ghana are working with a consortium to kind of understand the role that mosquitoes play within the ecosystem, such that if you remove them from the ecosystem, what will happen to the ecosystem? So what we are doing is to try and have a fair idea of the impact of such a technology on the ecosystem, on human health, on animal health, and on water quality.
He said the malaria elimination target can be feasible if there is proper coordination between stakeholders in the implementation of innovative solutions.
There has been countries where the disease is borne by some of these mosquitoes have been eliminated, which means that it is doable here as well. Funding for research is very limited, and most of the funding that we get for research comes from the West. And so if we don't get that support, then it becomes difficult for us to research into the very diseases that affect we as a people.
Program Manager of the National Malaria Elimination Program, Dr. Kezia Malm, is certain the new tool, when developed, will improve progress made.
I know there's a lot of research going on, not just in Ghana, but across the world, on making mosquitoes sterile so that the population of malaria mosquitoes are reduced, and then even when they mate, they don't produce more. So some innovations, but we are yet to see them come upscale.
Ghana stands resolute and determined to reduce the burden of mosquito-borne diseases, using World Mosquito Day to create more awareness about the parasite. Sarah Apenko, TV3 News, Accra.
Such a good initiative to eradicate malaria completely. Let's do sports news now. Godfred Akol-Bilah has won Ghana's strongest season 12 after beating Ebenezer Amos, Jeffrey Kufu and Bright Apia in the final held at the Obra Sports at Circle in Accra.
Right from the blast of the whistle, everyone knew Akol-Bilah will be the favorite after his splendid display throughout the season. His height, balance, stature, demeanor, humility, affability, awesome strength delivered the prize. Although the final events were unsurprisingly grueling, Godfred came out on top as he marked his 7th appearance on the competition. He dominated key events such as track head pull, giant tire flip, superset bench press and deadlift to be adjudged the winner of the competition. The difficult moment came when the Aboboya weightlifter got broken for the second time. Ebenezer Amos placed second, whilst Bright Apia and Jeffrey Kufu were third and fourth respectively. Godfred Akol-Bilah walked home with the bragging rights, title belt, and the final lap to his home could be in a brand new car and other souvenirs from proud sponsors.
Congratulations to Godfred Akol-Bilah for winning. Let's do some international news now. Russia's first moon mission in 47 years failed after its Luna 25 spacecraft spun out of control and smashed into the moon. Russia's State Space Corporation, Roscosmos, said it had lost contact with the craft shortly after a problem occurred as the craft was shunted into pre-landing orbit on Saturday. You can find more stories if you log on to 3news.com. My name is Godwin Asidiwa. The show continues with Roland Walker. Good morning.